Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice.
How can I get more new patients without relying on doctors? And specifically in this episode, we're going to cover not only this issue, but how to think outside the box when we're thinking about replacing physician referrals. So the benefit, when we do this the right way, when you learn how to diversify where your new patients are coming from, especially if you're one of those practices today that have, 50, 70, 80, 90% reliant on physician referrals, and the bulk of your new patients are coming from doctor referrals. The first big benefit is you're going to have more control. So, that it'll help your practice across the board, but one of the biggest problems is slow season, right? So maybe you're like we are in the Northeast US, and between Thanksgiving and the end of the year, there's this dramatic drop off in new patient flow. I know some other areas of the country tend to be January when benefits reset, or if you're in a snowbird state where people are either traveling south for the winter or they're traveling north for the summer. We want to be able to mitigate that slow season, right? Know what we can control. When we're relying on physician referrals predominantly, that really puts us behind the eight ball. We're in a difficult situation. So eliminate the slow season. It'll also give us a really confident and good sense when we bring on that next clinician, or when we're expanding space and we want to fill that space up as quickly as possible, whether it's opening a new clinic location or we're expanding an existing location. Because we all know that the biggest profit leak for most practices are underutilized space or underutilized, so we want to fill them up. But all in all, this is going to give you a lot more control if you understand what your options are as a private practice owner, how you can diversify away from physicians. One big disclaimer that I want to give you: if you are crushing physician referrals today and you have lots of people coming through, then you have a marketplace advantage. Fantastic. Keep that advantage. At the same time, and let's say you're getting 100 physician referrals every month. Awesome. Do everything you can to maintain those relationships, continue to provide high quality of care. That's great. However, imagine how much better your practice could be if you also had new patients coming in from reactivations or word of mouth referrals or partners or cold traffic marketing. So years ago, I was in a rough situation when I first opened my practice back in 2003. I wrote our entire business plan that we needed 5 new patients per month. And I had 2 physicians. One was a physiatrist. The other one was an orthopedic surgeon, who basically encouraged me to go into practice for myself. And so I wrote my entire business plan basically for just me, that I needed 5 new patients per week. And then that was going to allow us to have enough revenue to cover our expenses, and that my wife, Stephanie, who would be able to stay home with our oldest son, Jack, and she wouldn't have to return to work, that we'd have some flexibility there. So that was our whole business plan: 5 new patients a week. And every night I would go home, exhausted from a long day at work. And she would say, "Did you get your 5 this week?" And that was our basically driving agenda for the first 6 months. And within 6 months, we had doubled our original business plan. I had brought on a second full-time clinician, a PTA. And then, unfortunately, 6 months after I had opened, the orthopedic surgeon left the state and moved to Arizona, moved across the country to Arizona. Was a little bit of a confidence blow, right? And because I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know how to replace physician referrals. And I thought I just had to go find another physician who would send us patients. So I ended up doing, I think, 37 physician lunches within 4 months. So pretty much twice a week, every single week, was running out and meeting with doctors, and got fairly good at that game. I think at our peak in November of 2008, we had 154 physician referrals in a single month for a single site clinic. And we were very wide. We had no physician that was, more than 4 of those referrals. So very wide referral base. And then, the rest of the story. And, industry wide, when we're talking about outpatient private practice PT, there was over 50%, it was a 53.6% decline in physician referrals to PT, specifically for back pain from 2003 to 2014. So we all kind of experienced this exodus of physician referrals in private practice. When we started talking about this back in 2014, 2015, a lot of owners were kind of saying, hey, you know what, that's great in your area in central Pennsylvania where you're competing with 3 hospital systems and you have Select Medical headquartered there and Dreyer now upstream was headquartered there. You have all this competition. That hasn't really affected me in my area yet. Fast forward to today, 9 or 10 years later, and just about every practice has been affected by at least losing one referral source, right? So most of us have lost a referral source, or we've seen that gradual decline in physician referrals. And the next obvious question is, what do we do from there? How do we possibly market direct to the consumer? And so the framework that I've shared before on this podcast is there are 5 new patient pathways. The first is reactivations. That's a patient that I saw last year who's now coming back in for additional care, right? That's a reactivation. Could be for the same problem, could be for a different diagnosis. The second new patient pathway is word of mouth referrals. Most of us call this friends and family, where I treated somebody in the past and now they referred in their spouse, or they brought their children in for care, they brought their parents in, or socially another friend or family member. Next level up, we have physicians, right? This is so we can have referrals from patients, word of mouth. We can also have referral from physicians. That's what we're trying to replace here, but you understand what I mean. So, physician, nurse practitioner, PA, any sort of medical specialist, licensed professional. That's our category number 3 here. The next level up, 4th category, is we can have new patient flow from partners. These are organizations in our community, social, civic, could be a larger employer, that are promoting us and our services to their lists, whether it's an employee list or a membership list, could be a gym, lots of different possibilities here. Could be a furniture store, could be an auto dealer, could be just about any organization where they're promoting our services to their list. And then finally, we have cold traffic marketing. And this is where Google comes in, or Google Ads, and then also the Meta suite, which is Facebook and Instagram as well. Could also include legacy media if we're using print ads, direct mail, TV, radio, etc. So they're the 5 new patient pathways. And obviously, if we want to diversify and one of our channels is knocked out for things that are outside of our control, in this case, number 3, the physician referrals, we have to rely on those other channels. So we just want to put more attention, more effort, more initiative into reactivations. And how do we do that? And I'll do a separate episode on that. But we just shared an episode a week or 2 ago on the top 3 reactivation campaigns that are working today. One was for single question email. One was for promotion of a laser add-on cash-based service. And the other one was for texting. And I shared some data in that episode on what exactly is working for reactivations. The second one, word of mouth referral, what can we do there? Well, we can so think about this. Have you ever asked for a word of mouth referral and received one? I'm going to guess it's very highly likely that the answer to that is yes. What did you do? Write that down. The next thing that you can think about is getting all your clinicians to do the same process. For example, I've shared this. I've learned it through Breakthrough, and I've shared it with hundreds of other owners. But here's a simple 3-step process that works very well if and when you're willing to implement it. And I'm just going to head this off at the pass. If you hear this and you're like, I would never say that to a patient, that doesn't feel right, that's fine. Just modify it to your own practice. So this is the 3-step process we see working the best for asking for a word of mouth referral. Number 1 is you always wait for a win. You don't try to do it on the first day or the graduation date or the progress report date or 2 months after the person is discharged from your plan of care. You wait for a win. And a win is, I was really struggling with stairs, and this morning I didn't even think about it. I walked downstairs in the morning. This is the first time my knee hasn't bothered me in 2 years. Great. So you wait for that point. The next thing that you do is you recognize and acknowledge that. So if I'm the therapist and you share that story with me that you walked downstairs this morning for the first time in 2 years without pain, I'm going to high five. Hey, Mary, that's fantastic. Really happy to hear that. You've kept all your appointments here. You're following through. I can tell you're doing your exercises at home. Great job. Whatever that looks like for you. Obviously, I'm doing this monologue style on a podcast, but you understand what I mean. You're recognizing and acknowledging the patient. However you do that, that's not real and natural to you, do that. The next thing you do is you say, Mary, now I have a serious question for you. Who else do you know who needs help with their knee pain? So a few things on that, but you're asking, who do you know? And it's not, do you know somebody or if you know somebody, but there's a few things that I do with that question. So it's, who do you know who has fill in the blank with whatever similar problem that they have, who needs our help, right? So Mary, who do you know who has knee pain and needs our help? And I slow the conversation down a little bit. So recognition and recognize and acknowledge. I'm enthusiastic, smiling. I will step it off a little bit with my cadence, get into what Chris Voss calls that late night FM DJ voice, and then I'll ask that question: who do you know? And what if you don't fill in the vacuum, the awkward silence that is about to follow after you ask that question, the patient will fill that in, and they'll say, my sister, she's having trouble with her knee. Great. What's your sister's name? Mary says, my sister's name is Sue. Okay. What's the best way? And this is the final step here. What's the best way for us to get Sue the help that she needs? And then you let Mary formulate that. So let's just recap what we did here. Asking for a word of mouth referral, did a deeper dive, a little more detail than what I wanted to do, but I'm going to recap it for you anyhow. So number one is we waited for a win. Number two is we asked, or we recognized and acknowledged. Number three is we asked, who do you know? Number four, and I gave some detail around that. Number four, we say, what's the best way for us to get Sue the help that she needs? And we let Mary formulate the answer there. She might ask for, a business card or a brochure or something like that. Fine. And we'll deliver that. Usually what they'll say is, well, I'll just share your number, or I can text her right now. Right. So they'll originate their own. I don't try to force the solution there. And again, the key to that is once you ask the question, you slow down your cadence. Who do you know? Don't say anything. They will fill in the blank. And if you get really good at this, what you'll notice is the patient will scan. They will they'll look. Their eyes will dart around a little bit, and then they'll get focused and they'll say, oh, my sister, Sue, has knee pain too. Right. So it's really cool. It's a neat phenomenon once you discover it, but that's something that you can do for word of mouth. Right. And I remember we taught this, I believe, in February of 2024, and we had one clinician do nothing but this and get 4 new patients the very next week. And so very reproducible, right? So who do you know? What's the best way for us to get them the help that they need? Next level up, we have the physicians. So we're going to skip over physicians, then we're going to go to partners. What can you do there? I tend to look for partners, organizations in the community that already have marketing. And the way to think about partners who are going to promote us is, we're looking for an organization that already has a list that matches our patient list or is similar. So we built our practice around 45 to 64-year-old family-oriented females. And I want to think through, so if there's somebody in that target demographic who's on my patient list, what other lists in the community is she on? And I want those organizations to be promoting us because they likely have more of the same avatar, ideal client, whatever you want to call, our ideal patient. So we're looking for again, furniture stores, boutique gyms, could be yoga or Pilates studios, could be employers in our area. We want them, and what we want to do is we want to provide value to those organizations. I was talking with an owner about marketing and specifically marketing a de novo clinic, and I wrote out processes that we have in our marketing system. I go through, and this is simply a checklist, but I go through all 5 new patient pathways, reactivations, word of mouth referral, physician or professional licensed referral, partner referrals, and then cold traffic marketing. And I laid out all of our processes and what that looks like. If you'd like a copy of that, simply click on the link. You can download a copy so you know what a marketing system looks like that addresses all 5 new patient pathways. It's going to give you confidence whether you're opening a new clinic or you have an established clinic and you're just looking to fill the schedules of your existing therapist, or you're just looking for consistency in your new patient flow. This is how we think about, this is how we've evolved over 20 plus years working with now over 2,000 private practice owners from all over the world, not only all 50 states in the US, but 11 countries internationally, physios in 11 countries internationally as well. So if you like that sheet, it's absolutely free. You can click on the link, download it, and get a checklist of the marketing processes that we have in our marketing system. In our case, that's typically we're attending their health fairs, we're doing employee screens, we're providing workshops or other educational content that supplements the work that they're trying to do for their customers or for their employees. An easy one in our area that is often overlooked is most of our clinics are in townships or municipalities. And those municipalities have huge mailing lists, right? Every resident, citizen in their municipality or township, and they mail them likely every quarter. So there's already marketing going out. They already have a list. Those 2 boxes are checked. They're likely promoting other events within that community, whether it's spring cleanup or, a field day or a summer camp, whatever it might be. And then we just want to piggyback off of the effort that they're already doing and provide value into that community. So that would be one other way that we could have, a partner promote us. Now, if our physician referrals are going away, we have so far 3 other channels that we can put more effort on. The 4th and final one, or the 5th new patient channel, is cold traffic marketing. This is the hardest to land, and I'm going to tell you why and where most practices fall off. So it is when you're receiving a physician referral, it is fairly simple and straightforward for your front desk person, your scheduling receptionist, your patient care coordinator, whatever title you're using. It's fairly simple and straightforward for that patient care coordinator to take this script, however you're receiving it, email, fax, etc., and call the patient and say, "Hi, this is Chad from Madden Physical Therapy, Madden Gilbert Physical Therapy. I have a script here from Dr. Smith, and I'm calling to schedule your appointment." Right? That is not that my 11-year-old daughter could do that. Right? Not a big ask. Not a high level of competency needed. It's just we're calling on the order. Very, very simple. The patient likely already is expecting our call, and they're just going to do what the doctor says and follow through. Now, when we go to Google or Facebook, and there's a discrepancy there as well, right? They're very different. So if we have somebody who is Googling, back pain in Harrisburg, and they end up calling our clinic, that conversation is going to go a little bit different than when we're calling on a fax script. And treating those 2 things the same is an error for most practices. So yes, we can go out, we can nail the advertising, have it be absolutely amazing. Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, direct mail, print ads, etc. We can nail that. But if we're not paying attention to the conversion, what can happen is we can waste a lot of ads very quick, a lot of money on advertising very quickly, and thinking, well, I'm diversifying, ignore those 3 other channels, and I'm diversifying away. And then it's like, oh, we just can't do this, right? That's a very common phenomenon that we see often, and that I've dealt with, 100 plus times working with other owners over the last 10 years. Like very, very common to hear that. So in those cases, what the person's doing is they're ignoring the difference between calling on a fax script or calling on somebody responding to a Google ad, or to add one more layer of complexity, somebody who's responding to an advertisement on their phone, right, as they're scrolling Google, as they're scrolling Facebook, or as they're scrolling TikTok or Instagram. That person wasn't even looking for a solution. We happen to say, attention, Harrisburg residents suffering with shoulder pain, and they click on the ad. Right now, that's they call it interruption, right? So it's referred to as interruptive advertising. Now, the person on the other end who's representing our practice and receiving that phone call or calling that person because they filled out a form, that is an entirely different skill set, right? They're not the same. They're very, very different. So that's something that you want to be careful of. Now, the thing that I'll say is once you learn, you in your practice, once you learn how to convert cold traffic, and I mean, I'll give you one that's even harder, converting people off of YouTube. And so when I started advertising direct to the consumer heavily in like 2010, 2011, the one thing that was happening is a couple of our YouTube videos. So this is an organic, I'm not paying for advertising on YouTube back in 2010, 2011. What was happening is people from all over the country and even all over the world were clicking on our YouTube videos, and then they would see my email address. They would send me their, life story of what was going on with their back pain and sciatica. And then I would try to help them, find somebody, a clinician like me in their area. And I did that for a while. And eventually I discovered that it was taking up a lot of time trying to respond to every comment and every email. So I just started saying, hey, I read through all your studies and everything. When can you make it to Harrisburg? And people started traveling to Harrisburg from wherever they were. It's not the easiest place to get to, not the destination capital of the world, much more difficult to get to than Chicago or Denver or, Dallas, another major city. Not easy to get to. People started traveling in, and there was a series of questions that I would ask, not things that I would tell them, but questions that I would ask that the person would say, okay, where should I stay? They would basically say, I'm going to travel to Harrisburg to get my back pain and sciatica treated. So yeah, something to think about there. And again, once you can do that, something that's very high level of difficulty in conversion, then everything else becomes easier in terms of reactivations, in terms of word of mouth referrals, or in terms of converting people when other organizations are promoting you. But don't overlook that. If you've been reliant solely on physician referrals and you're thinking you're just going to, throw some money at Google or Facebook and get good results, that's likely not going to happen unless you have a hidden gem, a diamond in the rough at your front desk, and we just don't know it yet. You just don't know. So the other thing that I want to say is there is this little 1-2 punch. When we're diversifying, we're going to the other new patient channels, we're starting to go direct to the consumer. And it's this idea of we want to have marketing in place, and we need to pay attention to that, right? So and the way that I define marketing, which is very simple to remember, is positioning. So if you think about somebody in your community who suffers with whatever diagnosis, let's say it's, we have a 50-year-old mother who's suffering with back pain or SI joint pain. Let's say it's SI joint pain. And we think about all the different things that she could do. She could go online and say, what can I do for treatment for back pain? And she might find that she could do, exercises on that she gets from YouTube. She might talk with a friend who shares some, exercises or self-mobilization techniques. She might go see her doctor. She might go to urgent care. She might get an over-the-counter pain or anti-inflammatory medication. She might buy a thermowrap. She might try hot or cold packs. She might try, getting in the sauna at the gym, or maybe talking with her personal trainer, or going to see a massage therapist, or going to see the physical therapist down the street or the chiropractor down the street. She might go to her doctor who's a DO, and he might manipulate her. There's a million different things that she could do. She could go on Amazon and buy a product, a self-treatment product for at home. She could try a topical balm, all these different things. Your service, what you need to do in marketing is position your service against all those other options. And the worst way to do it is just by saying we're the best, right? That's very not good advertising. We don't want to do that. But we do want to position ourselves in a way that the person that's looking for a solution is going to come to us. I believe the way to do that is through offering education or information, but we'll talk more about that later on another episode. The other thing, after we have that, and I'm talking about that 1-2 punch, we have marketing, which is positioning. So once people start to raise their hand and respond to our advertising, whether they're calling the clinic or filling out a form or emailing us, whatever that might be, then we need to do, this is the bad 4-letter word, we need to sell, SELL. And so selling or sales, often a bad word when we're talking with clinicians, but what we're talking about here is the conversion of a person who's interested in our service over to a paying patient. And that's something else that we need to pay attention to, because you can have your marketing completely aligned where we have market message media match, everything's aligned and you're crushing it, you're getting a ton of responders. Then you have a great front desk person or patient care coordinator who's getting the person to show up in the exam room. And you can have a clinician walk into that room who doesn't have a trained in, grooved in, successful sales process. And that patient leaves. And what do they say? I was the wrong patient. Leads weren't good. But everything was in alignment until that clinician walked in the room. Right. And what we've seen is, and I have this nice bell curve internally of clinicians that we can look at performance. And we have some clinicians that are nearly 100% of exams schedule a full plan of care. And then we have clinicians on the other end as well that we're providing training and support and coaching so that they get better there. It's a very learnable skill. I'll have to do a future episode on that as well around the 7-step exam for you. Some things that get in the way. Number one, anytime we're looking to diversify is, at least when I went through PT school, working one-on-one with an orthopedic surgeon, or, if I was the favored child of that orthopedic surgeon, that is the golden goose for my career. And I very much fell into that early in my private practice career. And then what I quickly noticed working in an orthopedic clinic is it didn't feel great. I didn't like the feeling. I thought it took some pressure off of me because, the physicians upstairs would just send more patients down if I wasn't doing my job. And I did not like that feeling. Just something very early in my private practice or in my professional career as a PT, just that bothered me working in a physician clinic. Did not feel good. So if you have that, and maybe it feels great for you to be, the favored clinician of the orthopod, you might have to work through that limiting belief a little bit. The other one is most clinicians have very poor awareness about how they're different. Most of us use this blanket statement that we provide high quality of care. I challenge you to find one clinician who doesn't say that they provide high quality of care, even if they're seeing 500 visits a week, right? Something astronomical. That person believes they're providing very high quality of care. I'm the best. I mean, that most of us are playing that record, that song on repeat in our mind that we're the best clinician, unless we've somehow popped out on the other end and worked our way through that. So those two limiting beliefs, one around the ortho being the favored child, the other one about we're not really different than other clinicians other than our high quality of care. Those two things are going to be a challenge when we're starting to market direct to the consumer. So we covered quite a bit in here. We started with the challenge, which is how can I get more new patients without relying on physician referrals? I talked through the benefits of doing that, diversifying, having better sense of control, filling schedules, filling space. I shared the story about 5 new patients in the beginning and then expanding as I worked through the challenge of losing one of my first referral sources who moved out of state. And our solution was to go direct to the consumer, learn how to market direct to the consumer. I also talked about the framework of those 5 new patient pathways and how we have to ramp up our efforts and initiatives in those 4 others, right? Reactivations, word of mouth, partners, cold traffic marketing. I talked through that 1-2 punch of marketing first, then sales. You might substitute in another word if you don't like the word selling, but I'm essentially talking about conversion from somebody who's interested in our services over to becoming a paying patient. And then I talked through a couple self-limiting beliefs here as well, with that ortho being the golden goose of our career. And then also most clinicians not being aware of how they're different or differentiated in the view and the point of view of the general market when we're advertising direct to the customer. So a lot going on within this episode. As always, if you want to learn more and you're looking for marketing help, you can always schedule time with my team. Go to getbreakthrough.com/growth. And what will happen is on that call, you'll get access to my team. They'll first, just like we do with patients, they'll do an assessment of your current marketing, what's working for you, what's not. And then they'll walk you through a strategy or two, highly prioritized strategy for what you can do to get more new patients without relying on physician referrals. As always, this is Chad Madden with Grow Your Practice Live. And thanks for listening in. I'll see you in the next episode. See ya. I was talking with an owner about marketing and specifically marketing a de novo clinic. And I wrote out processes that we have in our marketing system. I go through, and this is simply a checklist, but I go through all 5 new patient pathways, reactivations, word of mouth referral, physician or professional licensed referral, partner referrals, and then cold traffic marketing. And I laid out all of our processes and what that looks like. If you'd like a copy of that, simply click on the link. You can download a copy so you know what a marketing system looks like that addresses all 5 new patient pathways. It's going to give you confidence whether you're opening a new clinic or you have an established clinic and you're just looking to fill the schedules of your existing therapist, or you're just looking for consistency in your new patient flow. This is how we think about, this is how we've evolved over 20 plus years working with now over 2,000 private practice owners from all over the world, not only all 50 states in the US, but 11 countries internationally, physios in 11 countries internationally as well. So if you like that sheet, it's absolutely free. You can click on the link, download it, and get a checklist of the marketing processes that we have in our marketing system.